if we fail to cooperate globally and we fail to really go for eradicating this virus and getting vaccine to everybody, at the top of the most remote Himalayan community and in the middle of the most desperate part of the Sahara, if we don't really commit to that, then this will be a virus that will be endemic. It will circulate around the world over and over and over and over again, and your grandchildren will be tackling it, your great-grandchildren. But let's stick to the hope that we will try as a global community to really, truly vanquish the virus. What I told the Secretary General back in April when we had a meeting on this, and he asked me what it would take, I said, look, we have to look at the smallpox eradication effort. Here we were in the peak of the Cold War. The world divided right down the middle between the communist world and the capitalist world. India was trying to straddle in the middle, but most of the planet had chosen sides. We had nuclear weapons aimed at each other all over the planet. It was a desperate time. It was a horrible, horrible experience for the planet, very dangerous. And yet, the United States and the Soviet Union agreed. Let us take on this task of eradicating smallpox. And the US agreed to let the Soviet Union officially put the proposal before the World Health Assembly, and the US seconded it. And together in the field, you had, Russians and Kazakhstanis and Chinese and Americans and Indians out doing mass vaccination for smallpox all over the planet. And it was executed in a really aggressive way. It took more than 10 years, but we vanquished it. There is no smallpox anywhere on planet Earth except in a couple of deep freezers, right? And we hope they never get out of those freezers. That was a success, but it also showed the scale of what had to be done. Each nation had its own policies. I know in India, there were some places where people were vaccinated at gunpoint with the Indian army present. And there were places where prisoners were vaccinated against their will. So human rights had a different sort of connotation. But we got rid of a virus that in the 20th century killed more people than all the wars combined. And we succeeded. This virus is on a track to be as big a killer, certainly, as World War II, and possibly a bigger killer than the 1918 influenza. If we don't take it seriously and go after eradication, we're going to just see it circulate over and over and over again. It may mutate and take on forms that require creating a new vaccine because the old one no longer is effective, and similarly outwit treatments as we bring them online. And the global community will be stuck with this huge burden for a very long time, for generations. What would that mean today? It would mean that China and the United States would have to start speaking decently to one another. And they would have to take the leadership. It's the modern day equivalent of the Cold War. And they would have to reach a strategic decision of shared joint venture to tackle and eradicate and lead the effort globally through all the multilateral institutions, the UN system, APEC, all those sorts of regional alliances, PAHO, et cetera, and lead the production efforts to manufacture massive quantities, billions and billions of doses of vaccines, and build that army, that massive public health army of tens of millions of people spread out across the planet to vaccinate, all the way into the most remote parts of the Himalayas and the most remote parts of the Amazon, and do so before we see indigenous peoples dying in massive numbers, as unfortunately is already starting in the Amazon, and do so in a way that is culturally sensitive, that doesn't repeat the smallpox vaccinated gunpoint approach, all of which makes it more difficult because you have to conquer the anti-vax movement, the people who believe in conspiracies and in crazy ideas. But somehow That's really, to me, the only option.
Mm.
If we can't figure out a way to go that path, then I think we're stuck with this virus and with its close cousins that will emerge. And we're stuck with it for generations.